What's up, guys? I'm Brooke Entz. I am a CrossFit Games athlete, health and fitness influencer, businesswoman, and also actress, believe it or not.
And I'm Gina Chancharulo, and I'm none of those things. No, but I am a mother of four and a gym owner, and Brooke and I are best friends.
We're best friends.
And we like to just sit and
get real about all things fitness, life,
and
female,
all the things in between.
And all the things in between.
So check us out.
Yeah, check us out.
Between the Reps with Brooke and Gina.
You can get our podcast anywhere you get your podcasts.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a part of the Dead End Podcast Network. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and all other podcasting services. Please make sure you check out Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports, Dead End Gaming, Is the Mic Still On, Chris Platt's Strictly Hip Hop and Hoops Talk, and a host of other shows on our podcast network. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Yo, welcome back to Any Given Sunday, Tuesday edition, Cinco de Mayo edition of the podcast. Sorry for no podcasts on Sunday or yesterday. We had a little bit of a scheduling issue, but we are back today. I think this is the first time I've ever done a podcast on a Tuesday, so it's uncharted territories. But glad to be back with another episode of the podcast. My guest this week, good friend of mine, a fellow member of the Thread on Twitter. It's a secret society. All we ask is trust. My man Christan Braswell, one fourth of the According to the Sources pod site, very popular website. Those guys getting in, so make sure you support and follow those guys and listen to all four of those gentlemen. Christan Braswell, like I said, my guest this week on the podcast, first time guest, so it's a special occasion.
Yes, sir.
Chris, what's good, man? Welcome to Any Given Sunday.
Thank you, man. It's an honor to be on here. You know, I've listened to your podcast since I've met you, and you know, you've always just spitting it raw. So it's a really good time to be on here, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, my brother. Always appreciate the compliments. So it's always appreciated. So thank you for that. How you doing, man? How's life? How's the family? How's everybody doing with the current state of the world, man? Everything going on your way?
Yeah, man, I can't complain. You know, everybody's healthy. You know, that's really all that you can ask for at this kind of time. It just feels like we're all living in pre-Rona and post-Rona. Like that's how life is right now. It's like, oh yeah, I remember I can go outside and not wear gloves and a mask and don't get looked at weird. And now you go without a mask. Like, yeah, buddy, we can't serve you. Like, okay, never mind. Let me put it on.
Yeah, man. It's a crazy world, man. It's bananas out there for real. But yeah, everybody good, everybody healthy. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, man, that's really the most important. Everybody's healthy, everybody's good, nobody's sick or coughing, you know, so that's good.
Awesome. Well, I thought it was a good time to have you on the show. You being a lifelong Chicagoan, and obviously a Bulls fan. So who better to talk to about this documentary currently airing on ESPN every Sunday night? I think this hits you a little bit differently than the rest of us. I mean, everybody who grew up in that era, in that generation, is a Jordan fan, but I think this hits you specifically different, you know, being a Chicagoan, a Bulls fan. We'll definitely get into that. But before we get into that, you know, I always like to give my first time guests a little bit of a time at the beginning of each show to kind of introduce themselves, kind of lay out their background, what they do, where they come from, you know, just a brief bio, so to speak. So yeah, man, tell the world who Christan Braswell is.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Well, my name is Christan. Right now, I've lived in Chicago my entire life, but right now I'm a junior in college studying communications and sports journalism. I'm also a writer. I cover the Bulls, baseball, when we have baseball, but mostly Bulls basketball and NBA coverage for According to Sources and my own website. It's pretty much been a thing since high school that I've been writing. I didn't really get into sports writing until about my freshman year of college. I played baseball and basketball and football pretty much my whole life. So writing about it and covering it was kind of just like a second nature. That's also a love of mine. And it's introduced me to a lot of cool cats, just like my guy Manny and, this podcast, which is, like I said, it's an honor to be on here. As far as everything else with according to sources, and I've met those guys about 4 or 5 years ago now. At the time, my younger brother Cody was in the hospital. He was born with sickle cell anemia, which people that don't know that is a blood disease that affects African Americans disproportionately. He had that. He was in line for a stem cell transplant in 2016 that I was his donor for. And for those that may not know Chicago, Robert Ann Lurie's is a really, really big children's hospital here downtown. That's when I met Dre. Well, I was introduced to Dre and Rob by Devin. For those that know, Devin Wittenberg, he's also the owner of Seneca Athletics.
Shout out to Dev. He's been on the podcast a few episodes back. So shout out to Dev, man.
Yes, sir. That is the proud president of the Light Skin Coalition.
That's El DeBarge right there. Shout out to El DeBarge. Little El DeBarge right there.
Little man. Yeah, he introduced me to the guys, and then from then on, man, it was just magic. We started talking about the Bulls, and one thing I think that really caught on was kind of those guys are kind of like in their middle 30s. And I'm only 23. So that kind of added a real kind of fresh dynamic to the show that I feel like a lot of people appreciate because they hear like, dude, what? You never heard about Michael Jordan's, father being murdered? Yeah, no, I didn't find that out until last night. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And then everybody was just like, okay, yeah, this guy, get him off of here. Yeah, man. Those are some dope guys. I'm glad I was able to meet them though.
Yeah, man. Shout out to all of them, man. Definitely. If you haven't listened according to sources, man, it's a dope show, dope site. Check it out, man. Definitely show your support. All 4 of those guys are incredible talents. Speaking to one right now. So yeah, definitely support those guys and follow those guys and everything that they do. But yeah, man, that's dope, man. You mentioned you didn't start out writing for sports. So what was your first initial writing passion?
My first writing passion, man, honestly, I was a poet. I've been a speech kid since I was in middle school. Speech, debate team, stuff like that. I don't really know why I wasn't into sports writing in high school. I guess I was just kind of, focused on, English and arts and stuff like that. But eventually, I got interested and it started and it just came from what it is, I kind of wish I would have started earlier, but everything happens for a reason.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And has anything from the speech side of things, has it helped your writing when it comes to sports and on the other side, the other passion, have you noticed that the writing of the speeches, especially coming up and now writing more about sports, do you feel like that area starting out in speech writing, has that helped your sports writing a little bit or a lot of it?
Honestly, man, no one's ever asked me that question, and it's kind of surprising. No one's ever asked me that, but thank you. Yeah, it has. It definitely has. As far as me allowing me to be more eloquent with what I'm saying and how I get my audience to be able to understand that definitely helps when you come from a writing background like that. So as far as they're kind of like helping each other, here's
absolutely
the sports knowledge, and then here's the guy that used to write English papers for fun, So right? It weighs each other out. It weighs each other out for sure.
No, I can imagine. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely come with a different perspective. So yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, for sure. As my daughters come into the room here. We all working from home, man. We all working from home. No, but I think that definitely gives you a different perspective. Obviously, I mean, definitely being well versed in writing in any field obviously helps, and then specifically yours. Now you writing speeches. I mean, it doesn't get more well versed and more in the weeds like that, right? So definitely, I feel like that would definitely help the transition over into writing for sports. And do you notice it's easier or is it harder?
Honestly, to me, it's a little bit harder because as far as writing speeches and writing poems, I'm used to just, getting my pen and just going to work and just, writing till my fingers start bleeding. But with sports, you can't really do that because no one wants to read a 5-page essay on the Bulls and their ineptitude. You have to condense it. You have to get your point across, make them laugh a couple times, but also get them to see that, yeah, this is what it is. This is what the headline is. And this is what I'm writing about. You know, me and Dre always had these long debates about long form as far as writing. And there's, like you said, there's a time and a place for it. You know, some people, all they do is long form writing. There's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, a lot of people don't really have that kind of attention span for that stuff like that. So, but there's, like Dre said, there's a time for it. And, you know, you got to pick that time.
Yeah, everything is a niche, man. Everything is an acquired taste to a point. You know what I mean? So, some people actually love long form. I'm kind of in between. I kind of like the you know, the long form kind of writing where it's just unscripted, it's off the cuff, and then I like a good just article on a specific topic. You know what I mean? So I kind of go both ways, but it's different. It's different for everybody. Everybody has a different taste, so it's always one of those things that you kind of have to find your lane in. What do you still write poetry, or is that something that you kind of put in the back burner now that you've committed your time to the sports writing?
I want to say about 4 to 5 years ago, I committed my time almost predominantly to sports writing and covering sports, interviews and stuff like that. As far as you know, in the realm of athletics, I wrote my first poem for the last 5 years about a couple weeks ago, and
really?
I published it. Yeah, I published it, and people liked it. I was like, oh wow, I thought I was trash at this stuff, man. You know, I was kind of surprised that I could still grab an audience with it.
Why'd you put the pen down, man? Was it a reason, if you don't mind me asking? Like, was there a reason that drove you away from, not drove you away, but just mainly made you stop? Was it ever like something that you took serious to the point where you were really gonna pursue something in it, or was it just kind of a hobby? Where were you on that?
Well, as far as pursuing it like that, that was always a goal of mine. But I don't know, man. You know, at the time I was about 16, 17, and I was kind of winning awards for it in school, and I kind of got burnt out of it a little bit, you know. That and, you know, tumultuous relationships and stuff like that kind of drove me away from it a little bit and pushed me into sports writing, so to speak. But, you know, when you find something that you're writing for and you love it, and it's not for a certain cause, you love it even more, and it gets even better, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you. I feel you on that. Absolutely. So you published your first poem in 5 years, last week. You know, I need the scoop now. Are we going to see more of this? Is the pen out of retirement? You know what I mean? Are you going to make this more of a habit, or was it just a one-off?
You know, at first it was a one-off because it was like about 3:30 in the morning. I was just up and I just grabbed my pen. I just started writing. And I sent it to one of my friends, and she was like, "Yo, this is really, really good." And I was like, "Stop lying to me!" Like, yeah, I hate when people like kind of like big me up and don't tell me the truth. Like if it's trash,
yeah.
Trash.
Just let me know it's trash, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like don't let me walk around as a burger hanging on my nose for half the day. Like you're not real.
Yeah, facts. You know, they're not your friends. Yeah,
they're not your friends, man. They're not your real friends. But yeah. After that, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's good. So I've been kind of writing the last couple of days. I got some stuff in the works. Most stuff just feels like, you know, the rough drafts, but eventually I'll get around to it and start, you know, softening it up and getting it ready to publish it.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I recommend you keep it up, man. Definitely. We need some more voices of color, especially in that area, in that field. So some poetry out there. So yeah, man, definitely. And now's the time to do it. Shit, we ain't got nothing else to do, right? We ain't got nothing else to do. I mean, I tweeted this like when the whole COVID thing really popped off, right? I tweeted, I was like, yo, content creators, this is our time, man. Cause like,
man, shit, you off of work, you at the crib, like this is the best time to put your craft together, bro.
This is the best time to put your craft together, man. If you have the time, obviously, just because you know, just because half of us are quarantined doesn't mean we have time, so to speak, right? I mean, kids are home, you're working from home, but I mean, if relatively speaking, right? If you have the time, I mean, now's the time to really, really get that hustle going, man, and get that creative juice flowing and you know, get the content out there, man. Cause I feel like there's more of an audience than there's ever been for content. So,
yes,
yeah, man, I definitely feel like you should. Yeah. Everybody's home. everybody's home, everybody's listening, so everybody's reading. So yeah, man, definitely. So keep that up, man. For real, that's what's up. I didn't know that about you, but that's good to know, man. That's dope, man. That's dope.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. So as we transition over into the sports side of things, Bulls fan, lifelong Bulls fan. How has that been? So see, we're learning new things here. So in the year, almost 2 years that I've known you, I did not know you were that young, man. I didn't know that. That's crazy. I'm learning something new as we talk right now. I did not know that, man. Man, that's crazy. So I thought you was an old head like me. So being a lifelong Bulls fan, so you kind of missed the good times, right? You missed the golden era of being a Bulls fan. You a few years late, right?
Man, kinda. I missed everything.
Yeah.
I was born in 97. I don't know what a Bulls championship was. All I know was, Kirk Heinrich and, guys like Ben Gordon and all that stuff.
Oh, my God, bro. I'm sorry. Jesus. Oh, man, that's terrible.
It's terrible, man. That's why, everybody's watching the Jordan doc and stuff. And, oh, man, we knew all this stuff. But a lot of people my age never knew any of this stuff.
Yeah,
we didn't want to know. It's just because it wasn't put in front of us.
And it's just your age, man. I mean, you can't blame people for just, I don't know everything that happened in the 1960s. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I was born in 1986. I don't know anything that happened. A lot of things that, now I've always been somebody that's just been, someone that's always like to feed my brain and learn and history. I'm a huge history buff. In all fields, you know what I mean? So that's been me. But some people they're just not if it didn't happen in your time, you don't really go back and, you know what I'm saying, search it out. And sports is not one of those things like history where they teach it in a school. You're not going into 8th grade and they're going to teach you Bulls history 101. So if you don't search that out, or if you don't have a dad or a figure in your life that, you know what I'm saying, puts that in front of you like that, you're not going to really experience that or absorb that. So I feel like a lot of, and this, I'm going off on a tangent, but I feel like a lot of people, they just, especially in my generation, millennials, we kind of think because we were that first generation that got information at our fingertips, we just assume that everybody, you know what I'm saying, the generation before us is going to find out and try to search out information that was past their that was before their time. And that just isn't the case. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's people in my generation that don't know this. They don't know anything that happened before freaking 1980. I mean, it's crazy to think about, but it's like, I feel like, but especially in sports, we feel like that's some sort of sacrilegious thing to say, that was ahead of my time. That was before my time, just, I missed that. You know what I mean? Not saying that I don't appreciate it, but it's just, I missed it.
How could you not know the stat line Bill Russell put up in 1972? I'm just first of all, sir, that was 30 years before me. What? Come on, man. Give me a break. Right.
I think it's definitely a generational thing, because even when I'm not that much older than you, obviously, but even when I was young coming up, there was a stigma, you weren't really considered a huge sports fan or a sports aficionado if you didn't study the history. My brother inserted that into me, some of the OGs that I followed growing up, that I got my love for sports from. They always, he's like, yo, y'all young kids, y'all really want to know sports, you got to follow the history. You know what I'm saying? If you learn in baseball, you got to know who Ted Williams is. You got to know who the guys that came before the Jeters and the Pujolses and stuff like that. So that was always instilled in me. So that's why I've always gone back and looked at history and studied the game. But a lot of people, they come into sports at a young age and they follow a team, and that's it. They just hit the ground running from when they start onward, right? And that's not a knock. It's just some people are different. Some people are built different. So I like that you bring that different perspective, man.
It's that too, man. And honestly, people may not know this, but baseball was my first love before anything. I can tell you who the bench players were on the St. Louis Cardinals in 2003 were, and people would be like, "How do you remember that?" And I just watched a lot of baseball, man. Yeah. I grew up watching the Cubs, so you already know how painful that was.
Yeah, man. No, I definitely get it. I get it. So you being in your young age and missing out on the golden era of the Bulls. Something I definitely wanted to ask you. Do you feel like the Bulls now? And it's really a question for a lot of franchises that, you follow a franchise that had a peak run, and the Bulls, I mean, arguably had one of the greatest peak runs ever in history, right? I mean, 6 championships in 8 years. Do you feel like the franchise is almost paying for that success? Now, even 20 years removed from it, you know what I'm saying? Do you feel like that spectrum of Jordan and the Bulls and the 90s Bulls, do you feel like they're almost stuck in the shadow of that, of trying to kind of live up to that immense pressure of like trying to find the next great Bulls team? I mean, you could say that about any franchise, right? I mean, obviously, me being a Laker fan, you're always stuck in the spectrum of the past, right? Same thing
y'all
for the Yankees.
Had numerous great teams. So I ain't trying to hear that, man. You ain't gonna let that fly, bro.
No, but what I mean is like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. This Laker team, this current incarnation of the Laker team, I mean, they're constantly being compared to, what about Shaq and Kobe? What about Magic and Kareem? What about, you know what I'm saying? The big three of the 60s, and Jerry, Elgin, and Wilt. So always kind of getting stuck in that spectrum of the past. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like the Bulls have kind of suffered through that in the 20-year malaise that they've been?
You made a really interesting point. You said, do I think that they're paying for it? I don't think that they're paying for it. I think they're relying on it a little bit too much more than any other franchise that's won championships. The Bulls won. Yeah. Yes, sir. The Bulls have won 6 championships in the 90s, like you said, 6 in 8 years. The last time they won a championship was 22 years ago. I was 1 year old when they won their last championship. So the Bulls, not like a lot of friends. It's very okay. Let me start. It's very hard to replace someone like Michael Jordan. You never will, and you will forever live in his shadow. You'll forever live in Scotty's shadow. There will never be another great coach like Phil Jackson, ever. But you have to at least try. You have to try. The Bulls were mediocre up until Derrick Rose. They were blessed with Derrick Rose. They should have never got Derrick Rose in that draft ever.
Facts.
You'll ask anybody that watched basketball. The Bulls lucked up on Derrick Rose. If Derrick Rose would never came to Chicago, Gar Pax would have been out of here a lot sooner. I promise you that. But as far as just the history and trying to be better, they've never tried, man. We have one Eastern Conference Finals appearance in almost 23 years. That is reprehensible. And it's even more reprehensible because you're the 3rd biggest market in the country. We're not even talking sports. You're the biggest market in the country, period. 3rd biggest. New York, LA, Chicago. It's been that way for 30 years. And it probably will continue to be that way. But like I said, you'd have to try. And I don't think they've ever tried.
Well, to be fair, they've also had bad luck. I mean, I don't think anybody could have predicted, in 2012 or what, 2000, when was it that he won the MVP? 2011. Yeah, that Derrick Rose, his career would hit kind of a roadblock there for a few years with the knee injuries and stuff like that. So a little bit of bad luck too, because I really believed that team was literally on the progression of winning a championship. But Derrick Rose would have stayed at his peak, and continued to get better and healthy, right?
You know who's to blame for that?
Before Thibodeau? This is what you're gonna tell me?
No. It's a cohesive effort, bro. See, but you gotta be started already.
No, go ahead. You got the mic. Go ahead.
And it's that front office, bro. I'm telling you, the Bulls have always lacked a number 2 shooting guard. They gave us Rip Hamilton. They gave us Keith Bogans. They gave us a bunch of no-name dudes. C.J. Watson played he 1 and 2, and he was pretty good for us. Nate Robinson was pretty good for us playing point guard and shooting guard. But you got a bunch of round-the-mill players next to an elite-level point guard. You'll never win anything.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. Look, you know me. I love knocking the Bulls, and I love knocking Gar Pax like if I was a Bulls fan. So I get it. Yeah, no, but I do think there was a little bad luck too, because I think no one could have expected Derrick Rose, the Derrick Rose situation to happen the way it happened. I think that maybe he stays healthy. Who knows? Maybe they make the right. It's obviously we don't have.
We'll never know.
We'll never know, right? And we don't have the value of having hindsight right in front of us, right? But so I think you're right. I mean, they didn't have enough great players around him. I mean, Noah was a very good player and a useful player, but was he great? No. Luol Deng was a good player, but he was starting to kind of peter out at that point.
Yeah.
So they had solid players, but they didn't have that second star. And I think that had a lot to do with them trying to add Carmelo. Remember the summer of Carmelo where
man, that.
Hey man, my bad, man. I ain't trying to bring on no. Hey man, listen, I get it, I understand, man. I'm a Mets fan in baseball, so trust me. I would argue no one's been more tormented than Mets fans. Trust me.
And the crazy thing about the Mets is, bro, they've had a top rotation for the last 6 years.
Oh man, now you're doing it to me, man. Don't get me started, man. Listen. You know what? Let's just hit the fast forward button. Let's not even talk about it, No, but I honestly, I wanted to ask you that question because it's interesting because I feel like, franchises when they have such a huge run of excellence like that,
yeah.
There's always that come down period where it's like, yeah, y'all have had this success for this peak of time, but now y'all gonna really pay for it. You know what I mean? Now and I think the Patriots are about to go through that right now. In football, where you've had this just tremendous run, similar in a lot of ways to the Bulls, although the Patriots have been, a much longer period, obviously.
But a tougher sport to win, honestly. And
a tougher, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. And a much tougher sport to win with. But I feel like the Patriots are kind of going to go through the same thing now too, where it's they're going to learn what it's like to be on the other end of things. Where because Tom Brady isn't just going to walk through that door. You know what I'm saying? No. Another run like that doesn't just easily come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? It's going to take some time. So I'm always interested in that. Yeah, we may not ever see it again. So that was a question that I wanted to ask you because, you being a Bulls fan, I just wanted to ask you if you feel like your franchise is paying for the just the amount of success you guys had in the 90s. So I thought that was just interesting, but, so yeah, man, let's get into the doc, man. Episodes 5 and 6 aired on Sunday night.
Yes, sir.
Usually with these reviews, I always like to kind of find 3 or 4 kind of main points or key points that kind of both episodes really focused on.
Okay.
So let's start with you. What were your kind of 3 or 4 main areas that really stood out to you, or kind of key points, main areas of focus? Those 2 episodes on Sunday night.
Main focus for me, honestly, the main couple ones, it was kind of the explanation as to how these, it's not even really just Mike, it's just superstar athletes in general. There's cameras in their faces 24/7. When did they have the time to be human?
Yeah.
And honestly, besides that hotel room little clip that we saw from Mike, everywhere he went, there was a camera in his face, And I hate when people say, oh, well, you asked for this, you're a pro athlete. No one asks to be harassed every day, every walking second of their life.
Right.
No one asks for that, period. That was one of them. A second one that really, really, really hit me was kind of the Republicans buy sneakers too thing, because that's been a talking point for some time now, probably before I can even remember.
Yeah.
And it always goes back to one point that I always tell people: why do you allow people that throw a ball, catch a ball, shoot a ball to be role models for your children? They should not be you should be the role model. Your son should grow up, you know what? My dad's the best dude ever. My dad is my role model. He taught me everything, la, 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 la. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't really get to experience that growing up. And, that's why we turn to athletes, because we look at them like heroes, as our heroes. They are our heroes. But does that mean that we get to chastise them? And, you can disagree with them all you like. But at the end of the day, they're human. They're allowed to their opinion.
Right.
But I also see the other side. As far as, you're a superstar Black athlete. There hasn't been many of you. Probably won't be many more of you after you. So,
right.
Take a stand. But, at the end of the day, Jordan, he made a really good point. I don't know this dude. And if you want me to endorse somebody just because you want me to, you need to look in the mirror. And that part, I'm paraphrasing him there a little bit, but that part stood out to me the most. He made his point clear. You may disagree with it, but at the end of the day, that's his point. You can't change it. We're human. We're opinionated beings, man.
I love that you brought that part up. Because that's one of the areas that really stuck out to me. And it's always been an area that I've been a little bit on the fence about because, you follow me on Twitter, obviously.
Yes, sir.
I'm very opinionated and very passionate about politics. So I have a particular set of views and beliefs, and I'm on the fence about it because in one part, like you said, yeah, you're a person of color. You represent a race and a community to a point.
Yep. You
should have, I want to know what LeBron feels about issues affecting communities of color. I want to hear what, in Jordan's example, I want to know what Jordan thinks about, issues going on in the African-American community and so on and so forth. Right.
Yes,
so
sir.
in part, I do see that and I get that. But the other part of it too is like, this idea that these athletes owe us not only to be superstar athletes, but to be activists and to be
thank you.
leaders of the community. I feel like we've kind of lost our way with that. You know what I mean? Like, sure. Would I have wanted Michael Jordan to, endorse Gantz instead of, the Congress? And that was something that I learned. I didn't even know all of that.
Me neither. Jesse Helms. I didn't know anything about
Jesse Helms. I didn't know about the Jesse Helms and the Gantz situation in the early 90s. That was something that I found very interesting and I learned. But I feel like we've lost our way with that as a I don't want to say community, fans, whatever you want to classify us as. We've lost our way with that. Like, Michael Jordan didn't owe us anything. Like, he didn't owe us a Gantt endorsement. Like, this idea that Michael Jordan was the fact that this idea that these athletes speak for all African Americans or all minorities or all Latinos or all people of color is just preposterous to me. Like, we're not a monolith. Like, not every person of color I'm sure that not every person of color in North Carolina was going to support Gantz over Helms. We don't know that. Obviously, Jesse Helms was a repulsive human being and had some wayward views. But even with that, we're not a monolith. I'm sure that you find a segment of African Americans that probably would have supported that dude. Who knows? I don't know, right? But this idea that Michael Jordan, that you're a superstar athlete, so you owe your community to be, this figure of change and this activism is just backwards to me. Like, of course, do I want Michael Jordan to be more socially involved and woke, whatever you want to call it? Like, yeah, of course. For me, because I'm a political person and I respect that athletes take a stance and have opinions of their own, but it's not the end all be all for me. Like, I'm not gonna, like me, my favorite athlete ever was Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe rarely, if ever, had a political opinion, right? Does that mean that I appreciate his athletic exploits less because he didn't speak up or he didn't, I didn't hear his thoughts on Obama's TPP? Does that change that, he didn't support, this candidate over that candidate? Like, I just, why? Like, why is that even a thing? Like, why? And I get that. And I get why it is, because I think that there was a time and this always bothers me. People always bring up, and I saw it on Twitter a lot. Well, Muhammad Ali, he's no Muhammad Ali. First of all, Muhammad Ali was in a class among, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, those guys were, Kareem, those guys were in a class amongst themselves. And you also got to think about it, the time that these guys were at their athletic primes, right? Was
Thank you.
the civil rights era. Like, at that time, if you were a prominent figure of color,
you had to.
Like, you almost had to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't ignore that, right? Because this is something that's knocking on your doorsteps every day. No matter what.
You said that, bro. That makes a really good point, because that makes me think back to when O.J. Simpson was asked to, what was it? It was in the O.J. documentary. They asked him to do something exactly, and he said, "I'm not an activist. I play football." Now, that part that he said about that during an active, the civil rights era, that's an issue. That's an issue for me.
It's an issue. I mean, look, did I like it? No, but I can also understand it. Like, and the other thing about it is some people just don't want to speak on things that they have no knowledge on. You know what I'm saying? True. I can respect that. Like, yo, I know some people in my family that are not politically inclined. They're just like, yo, I don't really want to, I don't speak on things that I'm not an expert on. Like,
yeah,
is sure. I have an opinion, but am I an expert? Am I qualified to speak up and say, well, this candidate sucks over that guy because this, that, and the other, or these are the issues that are going on in the African-American community, and I speak for all Black people in this area? No. Like, some people just don't want to take a stand. Like, I respect that. Do I like it? Do I wish that more athletes were more socially conscientious and involved in their communities? Absolutely. But I also can't knock an athlete for saying, yo, you know what? I'm not a politician. I don't get paid to speak about politics. Like, I'm an athlete. You know what I mean? I do my job well. Of course, there's certain issues that I feel like if you're an athlete of color, you should speak on, like if police brutality is one of them, things of that nature. But I can't knock somebody who doesn't. You know what I mean? And I feel like we get caught up in this cycle of like, oh, well, this guy's a sellout and this athlete is that, or this and that and the other, because, they're not Jim Brown or they're not Muhammad Ali. And it's like, you can't compare everybody to those guys. Like, those guys were different and it was a different time. See what I'm saying?
I'm telling you, they just don't get it. It's not fair to expect these humans to be superior beings. That's just not how we were created, man.
Yeah, we're all human beings. We all have flaws, man. Like, we all fall short in some areas. Nobody is perfect. I know that everybody likes to think of Michael Jordan as perfect because of the "Be Like Mike" and all that. That's a marketing slogan. It's a campaign. It's about Gatorade. It wasn't about being Michael Jordan because he's so perfect. It was about be like Mike to drink more Gatorades. Like that's what it was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people just take this stuff too seriously, man. And again, I say I'm conflicted because part of it, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, part of it, I get it. If I'm a young Black kid in 1993, yeah, I want to know what Michael Jordan feels about, the situation with Rodney King. I want to know what Michael Jordan feels about the LA riots. Like, I want to hear his thoughts on it. Does he have an opinion? So I get it. You know what I'm saying? And part of me, yeah, damn, Mike, like, you really couldn't support your man Gantz, or you couldn't. And it's Michael Jordan. Like, Michael Jordan could have called this man. He could have set up a meeting with this man. He could have did anything to meet this guy. So the fact that he said he didn't know him, like, I get it. But, like, you're also Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan calls the Gantz campaign, says Michael Jordan wants to speak to you. They're going to speak to Michael Jordan, right? Like, yeah. You know what I mean? So, but did he have an obligation to do that? Was he supposed to do that? No. And at the end of the day, it's that man's prerogative. Like, I can't be mad at him because he didn't want to get involved. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. Like, do I wish he would have gotten involved? Absolutely. But if he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't, like, it's like when you're married to somebody, like my wife, right? She's not a sports fan. She knows what's going on. She pays attention, but for the most part, she's not a huge sports fan, right? That's like me being mad and wanting to divorce my wife because she's not a sports fan. And she doesn't care about the Mets like I care about the Mets. She doesn't live and die with Jets football like I live and die with Jets football. She's there. She knows what's going on. She cares for me. But at the end of the day, it's like, yo, I don't really care. It's a football team or it's a football game. Like, and that's like me having this expectation because she's married to me. She's supposed to love the things that I love, care about the things that I love, and be passionate about the things that I'm passionate about. No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, why can't she just be passionate for you?
Facts. Like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, yo, babe, it's okay. They'll get better next year. And that's it. Like, cool. And yeah, do I wish that she was more involved in sports? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I wish I could have a conversation about fucking Sam Darnold with my wife? Absolutely. But that's not her thing. So I have to respect her and accept her for who she is. Like, and I feel like it's the same thing with these athletes, man. Like, you got to accept these dudes for who they are, man. As long as they're not talking crazy, they're not out here saying, nonsense. That's another thing. That's a totally different situation, right? But if dudes just choose to stay abstinent and just say, you know what, I'm not involved, or it's not my area to speak, I respect that. Yeah, I respect that, man. So yeah, that definitely.
Because you're being respectful. You're not being disrespectful. You're not saying, like A$AP Rocky. That's a different story.
Yeah, that's just totally different, right? That's a whole nother situation. And also, I think it's unfair because we're looking at it through a 2020 lens. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's unfair also because we're looking at it through a 2020 lens and we're not looking at it to a 1993 lens. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy now for these athletes to be socially involved because there's been an expectation and a template already set. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit easier now for these athletes as opposed to 1990. And plus, a lot of the athletes of that generation, they looked at what happened to Jim Brown. They looked at what happened to Muhammad Ali, to Kareem, to people like that. Like, you know, I love how people have this revisionist history that, you know, Muhammad Ali took this stand and everybody just applauded him and cheered him on. And white America was like, oh, look at Muhammad. It's so brave. No, they hated him. They vilified that man. The tide didn't turn with Muhammad Ali until he got sick. Let's be real. Let's keep it 100. You know what I'm saying? Muhammad Ali, for a large part of his career, was hated, was vilified by white America for what he did. They looked at him as a traitor or a communist, you know, and self-entitled athlete, blah, 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 blah. They revoked his life. I mean, we all know the story, right? Yep. So, like, this revisionist history that we all have, because obviously the tide turned and everybody knew the Vietnam War, you know, by the mid to late 70s, knew everybody it was a disaster. And in retrospect, Muhammad Ali was right. Yeah, so the tide turned, but let's not act like these dudes were universally praised and lauded for what they did. I mean, in the black community they were, but white America vilified these dudes. So if you were an athlete in the 80s, post Brown, post Kareem, post Muhammad Ali, you know, you were preached. You were coached like, yo, get this money. Don't fuck this shit up. Don't talk about race. Don't talk about politics. You go play basketball. Now we can argue. We can sit here and we can argue over a span of 8 podcast episodes about whether that's the right play. That's the right thing to do, and that's the stand that you should have taken, or you should have been more authoritative and more active in your communities. We can argue about that all day. But that was a vibe. That was a common theme in athletes in that time frame, man. So it wasn't just Jordan. You know, it wasn't just Jordan. I never heard Grant Hill speak up on issues going on in the African American community. You know what I'm saying? How many you know, was Magic out in the front lines during the LA riots? Like, I don't remember that. You know what I'm saying? So this idea that it just fell on Jordan to be the spokesperson of Black America has always been a little lost on me. And I've had this conversation with OGs, people that I respect and love, and I have disagreements on, and we agree to disagree.
That's perfectly fine. You know, as far as athletes trying to be, you know, political, it could backfire. Look at the way LeBron James responded to the whole. Remember Daryl Morey and his tweet? See, you getting me started now. Yeah,
who's to say it doesn't backfire? Because that backfired. Not America, but you know, male America was frying LeBron for like 3 weeks.
Bro, I fried LeBron. I thought the NBA players should like. I had a problem with the whole China thing. You know what I'm saying? And I won't relitigate that here on this episode, but you know, the brief version of it is you can't be this league that's so socially active and woke, and the league of tomorrow and the league on the right side of history. And then when there's something like this that happens, and yeah, I want to see LeBron and what his takes are. And first of all, Daryl Morey said nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. He said nothing wrong. He made a perfect, eloquent tweet that I think 99% of us would approve and agree of, right? And he got slandered for it. He got slandered. Think about it. Slandered by the same athletes that sit here and call themselves woke.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to knock Trump when Trump says something stupid. Easy. That's a layup. Anybody could do that. But to sit there and talk about the situation in Hong Kong, to sit there and say, you know what, yo, you know, I understand, you know, that this may affect my money. This may affect my business relationship with China. But, yo, we are an American company. We are Americans, and we believe in freedom. And if anybody, you know, why didn't LeBron say, you know what, anybody that goes against that doesn't accept our views and our values about freedom, you know, maybe we shouldn't do business with. Why can't LeBron say that? I didn't see LeBron in the barbershop say that.
No.
I mean, no. So it could go, and I'm sure people didn't have a problem with LeBron, with how LeBron handled it. Politics is so divisive, man, because you're never going to please everybody. You know, we're split down the middle in this fucking country when it comes to politics. You know that. You know, you say you come out with a liberal leaning position, people on the right are going to hate you. You come out with a right leaning position, people on the left are going to hate you. You know, and they hate you even in your own community. There's going to be people that call you coon and a sellout, and people going to call you pro-black. Like, you're never going to please everybody.
You damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Damned if you do. Yeah, exactly. So I can understand when some of these athletes be like, yo, you know what? It's not even worth it. I get it.
You can't blame them either, you know.
Yeah. So what else really stood out to you on the episodes on Sunday night?
How fast Michael Jordan was to call out Horace Grant, man. Like, he just said Horace Grant's name as soon as they were talking about the Stan Smith book and how he got so much, you know, accurate information. And, you know, from what the guys have told me, they said that it's always been Horace Grant. That's been a rumor for years. And the way that Michael Jordan...
That was something I learned, too. That was something I learned because I didn't know that the whole Horace Grant thing was a real thing. Like, I knew there was beef there. Like, I always knew there was some sort of tension there. I always knew that the breakup was ugly, but I didn't know that it was to that extent. And it was like, yeah, Mike just threw him under the... Like, he was like, oh, yeah, that was Horace. Like, damn. Like, damn. Like, oh, like, so flippant about it. Yeah.
Then they brought Horace out. Horace was like, nope, never did it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, brother. You didn't seem very believable.
No, you didn't. You just did it because Mike said it.
Not at all. Not at all. Didn't seem very believable at that. You know, he almost said it with a smirk on his face, like,
right? I was like,
yeah,
you sure
that was interesting. That was interesting. Yeah. No, I agree with you. The Horace thing was funny. What did you think about when they broached the topics of gambling?
You know, I did not think that they would actually put that much.
Yeah, same here.
Man, I was like, whoa. They got video of Mike back here flipping quarters to security guards, bro. Like, this is crazy. You know, and I knew that he had gambling problems and he was a big gambler back in the day, but I didn't think they would have ever, you know, not they. I don't think Mike would ever let us see that, though.
And address it openly.
Openly, bro. I was like, wow. This is really something that I don't think anybody really ever expected or thought. So, as far as like that part and the gambling, I was utterly shocked, and it was probably one of the best parts of the series that I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean that's been the biggest elephant in the room in history, right? Of Jordan's gambling situation and gambling issue. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, I like the way they addressed it. I mean, I know some people on Twitter were kind of, yeah, right. I don't have a gambling problem. I have a competition problem. So folks are already stuck there.
I mean, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, he did. And look, the whole gambling thing, I always thought was a little overblown just because, like, I never thought that this dude, like, put his family at risk. Like, I know conspiracy theorists be damned with the whole Jordan and his dad thing. I get that. I'm not even going to get into that. But, you know, look, the gambling thing I always felt like it was a little overblown just because, you know, who are we to tell people what they should do with their money? Like, oh, look,
man, and a multi-millionaire at that.
Exactly. Plus, like, this man's gambling. He ain't, trust me, Jordan was not hurting for money, bro. He ain't out here. You never heard stories of Jordan not paying his mortgage. You know, you never heard stories of Jordan, you know, with tax evasion or being in some situation. Obviously, it's never hurt him now because he's a billionaire now and he's worth billions and billions of dollars. Bro, so obviously it never hurt him.
Gambling our rent money, our mortgage money, our child support, and y'all worried about what he doing? Please, get
up off this man, right? And if y'all felt so bad about, you know, if y'all felt so bad about gambling, stop giving us the line before every football game.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying?
You've been preaching since we got on tonight, bro. You've been preaching,
bro. I know. I just this episode really struck a chord. These episodes struck a chord with me. This, you know, on Sunday night because there've been things that I've been always wanted to talk about that I feel like I never could find somebody to talk about it with because everybody always held the opposite position of me with that, and it's like, damn, like the gambling thing, I just didn't care about. Like, you know, it is what it is. Like, I don't even have a position. Like, yeah, it's a normal thing, man. There's people in my family that gamble. There's people, you know, playing the lottery is gambling.
Thank you.
Just because it's not $10,000 and it's $1 box straight, like, no, it's gambling. It's the same principle.
Every time they were the fault, you and Uncle Joe bet that 50.
Facts.
That's gambling.
Facts. Office pool, you know, NCAA, you know, tournament pools in the office for money. That's gambling. You know, it's gambling. FanDuel gambling. You know, that's gambling. So this idea that facts, exactly. So this idea that Jordan did something so, you know, it was because it was Michael, and then he was out in the open about it.
All it was, man.
And to be fair, you know, my man was walking around with the Golf Easy-E. That didn't help things.
No, it didn't at all. Made it worse, actually.
Yeah, it made it worse. Yeah, so he was with some sketchy characters. So I definitely get that. But yeah, man, the whole gambling thing was weird and like so out of place. Like, why is this a big deal? Like, I knew about that back then when I was growing up, but I just didn't know it was that big. So
Either.
yeah, definitely. What anything else that stood out to you?
They've been really trying to be very, very fair to Jerry Krause, and the way that they've done it, I think it works. But at the end of the day, you have to tell the truth. And he ultimately is the reason why the Bulls never won another championship. I believe if Jordan came back with the Bulls, they would have brought Phil back. They could have won 2 more chips. They could have won more.
Listen, with all due respect to you, you're the Bulls fan in the room tonight, so I will defer to you on that. But I feel like honestly, I feel like Jerry Krause is being painted as the villain here when I feel like Jerry Reinsdorf is the ultimate villain. I feel like Jerry Reinsdorf is the guy to blame on here, not Jerry Krause. At the end of the day, Jerry Reinsdorf is the guy that signs the checks. He's the guy that's running the organization. If he had a problem with Jerry Krause, if he had a problem with Jordan, he could have easily stepped in. First of all, the fact that he basically let Krause do what the fuck he wanted to do because he wanted cover. He wanted Krause to be the fall guy because he didn't want to pay Jordan. He didn't want to pay Scotty. He was cheap. Yep. He was worried about this the age and the longevity of this team going forward. So just take the blame, fall on the sword. But no, he's going to let Jerry Krause, a guy who, by the way, is dead, who's not here to defend himself. I didn't like how they treated Krause in the first 2 episodes. Like, I understand telling the truth, but there is something to saying, yo, the dude is dead. Like, he's not here to defend himself. You're not here to get his side of the story, what really went down from his perspective, because everything is relative to perspective, right?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Everything's like that.
Facts. Man. Everything is relative to perspective. So, you know what I'm saying? We can sit here and we can analyze this from 7 different ways. And look, I'm not sitting here capping for Jerry Krause. I have no connection to Jerry Krause at all. I don't care. If he's to blame, he's to blame. But I feel like it's too easy to blame Jerry Krause. It's too convenient to just say, oh yeah, it's all Jerry Krause. It's this fat asshole that was just this tyrant and blame him. No, Jerry Reinsdorf, like, dude, this idea that Jerry Reinsdorf, and then I love how Jerry Reinsdorf sits there in these interviews and was like, oh, don't blame me. That was Jerry. Jerry was the guy that had a problem with Scotty. Why did Jerry Reinsdorf, who's the owner, why wasn't he the adult in the room?
And the worst part about all that is, bro, when they were talking about the whole Scotty contract, he told Jerry was like, I told Scotty to sign that contract. You're the owner. Give him more money then.
No, now I with that is different because at the end of the day, Scotty's an idiot. Like, I get Scotty had some pressures going on in his family life, but at the end of the day, dude, nobody held a gun to your head. You were told by many people, including your agent, Jimmy Sexton, that was a below market deal and you signed it anyway. I can't listen to Scottie Pippen 5 years after, oh, well, I'm underpaid. Dude, you signed the contract. You took the contract. Nobody put a gun to your head and said, sign the contract.
And
so I can't. Go ahead, my bad.
And at the time, they were saying that he took the contract because of his family issues, and as far as I think it said, his brother and his father were both in a wheelchair.
I get it, and I understand it, man. I did it. We all been there where we've made a decision based on money, and it probably did end up being the greatest decision in hindsight. But to me, it's unfair to sit there and blame 30-odd people for something that man did. Scottie Pippen was an adult. He signed a contract. Nobody held the gun to so this narrative now that wants to be spun out there. And look, he was underpaid. We all know that. To be the 125th paid player in the NBA is a crime. It's a crime. Like, we all understand that. And yes, I'm with you. Jerry Reinsdorf could have sat there. You mean to tell me Jerry Reinsdorf didn't look at the payroll in 1996 and say, damn, Luke Longley's making more than Scotty? Damn, for everything that Scotty's done to this organization, let's sit down. Look, Scotty, look. You've been a great soldier. You carried us when Mike retired. Like, you kept the ship afloat. You know what? Let's sit down. Let's negotiate. As long as everything is fair and on the up and ups, let's continue this marriage. Let's continue this union. We want you to be a Bull for life, right? Jerry Reinsdorf could have did that. He didn't do that. So to me, he's the one that's ultimately blamed. I'm sorry. Like, I can't listen to folks tell me that it's just Jerry Krause. Now, Jerry Krause didn't help matters.
Of course not.
I'll be the first to tell you that.
He
But this idea
wanted more notoriety than he deserved, and he deserved more notoriety.
Facts. You're a GM, bro. Sit the fuck in the background. Like, nobody needs to hear from you. You're a GM. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that
you
one
get your
clip where
credit.
you said, what you said?
No, I said, like, you don't, I don't want to hear from Jerry Krause. Now, we'll give you your credit because at the end of the day, you built the team and you made some smart, shrewd moves. But at the end of the day, to expect that you're going to get the same credit that Phil Jackson gets, or to expect the same credit that Michael Jordan get, like, dude, get out of here.
Man, that was so crazy when they won. I think it was when they won that. I don't remember which one it was, but they were in the locker room and they were interviewing. It's like, players win championships, organizations win championships. This is a great organization, probably one of the best ever. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, you didn't hit that shot.
And I get what he was saying, that, organizations do win championships, you know what I mean? Because the scouting department deserves some credit. The coaching staff deserves some credit. You know what I mean? The GM deserves some credit. The owner signing the check. Like, I get the framing of it is nice, but coming from him, you knew it had an ulterior message. And it was just like, oh, it wasn't on the players. And it's stupid. But again, there goes to Jerry Reinsdorf, because, like the whole beef Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson had. Like, yo, why didn't he sit these two in the room and it was like, yo, y'all need to cut this shit out. Phil Jack, like, if I'm Jerry Reinsdorf, I can't allow in one summer the greatest player that ever played, the greatest coach that ever coached, and one of the top 50 players to ever play in the NBA to walk out of my team in one fell summer. I cannot allow that. That is negligence if you're Jerry Reinsdorf. I'm sorry. I don't care what Jerry Krause talking about. Because to me, it's easier to replace Jerry Krause than it is to replace Michael Jordan.
Thank you.
Damn, I feel like I'm a Bulls fan right now.
See, man, I'm telling you, once you start talking about the history, man, everybody gets pissed because it was easily avoidable.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing right now. I think that's what you're learning right now, is that all of this was avoidable. Like, there was a lot of egos in the room and there was no adults. There was nobody to sit there and say, guys, what are we doing? Like, God has given us a fucking Maserati, a Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, all we got to do is just keep this motherfucker on the road. We ain't got to crash this motherfucker.
That's not bad. Like, it went from 62 to 20 in 1998 to 13 and 37 the next season.
Think about that.
Now, I know that was because of the, I think it was the lockout, right?
Yeah, the lockout.
But come on, man. You know what type of season they was going to have. They were going to be the last season. Come on.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I mean, and the fact that you got a hard on for Tim Floyd. Tim Floyd. Like, it's not like this was Mike Krzyzewski in college. Like, Tim Floyd was a solid coach in college, but he wasn't Mike Krzyzewski. You know what I'm saying? Like, this idea that you got this hard on to get rid of Phil Jackson for Tim Floyd.
And then he lasted 3 seasons.
3 seasons. It couldn't get out of his own way. No. Come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah, no, I feel you, bro. I just had to clarify the Reinsdorf thing because it's something that's been bothering me. And I ranted about it a little bit last week. But yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf deserves some blame here, man. This idea that Jerry Reinsdorf is going to walk away from this unscathed. Like, nah, bro, you're going to take these hits too. And I feel like at the end of the day, it was on him. I don't feel like he wanted to keep the team together. I'm sure he didn't appreciate having to pay Phil $6 million. I'm sure he didn't like having to pay a 36-year-old Michael Jordan $35 million. I'm sure he didn't even want to think about having to pay Scottie all the years he owed him. Like, so yeah, it was Jerry Reinsdorf to me, man. To me. I know some people will say Krause, but hey, Reinsdorf got to take these hits, man.
At the end of the day, Reinsdorf is signing the checks. He's the one, writing the checks. So I'm not trying to hear nothing else. It all falls at his feet.
Yeah, facts, man. What about the start of the Jordans, man? Did you find that interesting?
The start of the what?
The Jordan shoes.
Oh, yeah. Again, another piece I never knew. I never knew that he wanted to go with Adidas at first.
Yeah, that's new. That was news to me too.
I didn't know that.
That's
I think a lot of people didn't know his mom told him to take them to meet with Nike.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That was news to me too. Yeah, it's crazy. I like the little nuggets. That's what I mostly enjoy about these documentaries, man. It's the little nuggets that you're learning. Fans of all ages, really, that you're learning because I mean, like, I never knew he wanted to do Adidas. I didn't know that he was like, and I thought about that for a second, man. Imagine that, man. At one point or another, Adidas had a chance to have Jordan, Kobe, Yeah. I'm sure they took a meeting with LeBron, like all of these athletes, and they lost out on all of them. Think
All
about
of
that. Imagine where Adidas would be if they had Jordan.
Bro,
Think
Adidas
about
hasn't had a major player since D Rose. And
Hey
that
man,
was
they
their
got
first
Kanye
one.
though. They got
You said
Kanye,
who?
man. They got Kanye.
That's another story. That's another story, bro.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
definitely
man.
another story, man. No, but I found that interesting. The history of the Jordan sneaker, I found that interesting. I found that insightful. Like that was cool. That was a cool little bit of nuggets of information there. Learning how that all came to be. So yeah, that's crazy, man. Anything else that stuck out to you about these 2 episodes, man?
Yeah, one quick question, bro. Do you have a pair of high top Jordan 1s?
No, I don't.
Have you worn them?
I've worn them. Yes.
Have you ever tried to play ball in them?
No, I have not. But I can't imagine trying to play ball in those, man. The fact that this man dropped 55 on a good Knicks team in the Garden wearing these
Dress
bricks
shoes.
on his sneakers. Yeah.
Stacey Adams.
It's just everything that you need to know about Mike, man. It's just everything that you need to know about Mike. If you're one of these LeBronites out there I'm not even going to open that Pandora's box on this podcast. So trust me, I'm not even going to do it. But if you're one of these cats out there, cats your age, to be fair,
Yes,
that are
sir.
sitting here saying Jordan's this dinosaur and he played against plumbers and all that. I mean, dog, the man went out there and dropped 55 with dress shoes.
Shooting all twos.
It's all twos and fadeaways.
Mid-range.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Anything that you didn't like from the episodes, or anything that you wish they could have gotten more into?
Honestly, bro, they completely eliminated Craig Hodges' existence.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people were upset about that.
That bothered me because he was there for the first run, and he played a vital part as far as, he was one of the best shooters on the team. And
Facts. Yeah.
I don't understand why. Come on, I obviously understand why they took him out and why they basically, didn't acknowledge him at all. But if you're going to acknowledge Bill Wennington, you have to acknowledge Craig Hodges. Period. I mean,
Fact.
let's keep it a buck.
Mm-hmm.
We know why they did it. I don't understand why they did it, but at the end of the day, that was wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Craig Hodges had his opinion. You can disagree with it. That's his opinion. Could he have gone about it a little bit better? Maybe, but that is still a part of Bulls history.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think one thing that stood out to me, I don't want to say that I didn't like, a little, I would have wanted to see more of the Kobe sit thing with Jordan. And I understand. I think they probably called an audible on that just because of everything that happened. Obviously, the Kobe thing is still raw in all of our minds. So I think that they probably filmed more scenes with Kobe, and they just probably out of respect didn't want to air them. I would have wanted to see something more with Jordan and Kobe. Maybe get Jordan's reactions to Kobe's comments. Maybe like they showed him the iPad of Isaiah's comments. Like I would have wanted to see something a little bit more Kobe.
Yeah, a little bit more.
A little bit more. No, I mean they didn't have to do a freaking whole episode on it, but just a little bit more. I felt like that was a little light. Like they talked about the All-Star game and that's it. They had a couple comments on Kobe and that was it. And now, and I don't know about you, but I never knew they were that. I mean, I always knew they were close and they had a good relationship, but I didn't know they were that close. And obviously it came to fruition at Kobe's celebration of life, where Jordan was just he was just in tears, just in shambles, man. I mean, the dude, I never had seen that side of Jordan. Never. I don't think anybody's ever seen that just that vulnerability and that emotion just come out of Jordan like that. You know what I mean? And to see that, I mean, you could really tell that Jordan and Kobe were tight. Like that was a brotherhood there. So I would have wanted to see Jordan. Obviously, when the documentary was recorded, nobody could have foreseen that this was going to happen to Jordan, to Kobe. But yeah, that was. I guess that'd be my one knock. That they didn't talk more about Kobe, but I understand they probably filmed some stuff and they just didn't want to air it, or I'm sure it'll show up in like a DVD release or something. Yeah. As extra stuff. Yeah. So that's the one area that I would say, I think you could have done some more there. Anything else, man? Anything you want to talk about else that on the documentary?
You know, I don't know. It was I don't know how they're gonna box up and package his father, because I do you know if they're gonna touch on that or not?
Supposedly they are. They are. They apparently. I've listened to interviews with the director Jason Heer, and they said that they bring up everything. When I listened to the interview, I listened to a spot he had last week, and they asked him where they're going to bring up Jordan's politics and Jordan's gambling. He said, "Yep, everything was on the table." Wow. And as we see in this episode, yeah, they talked about it. They didn't shy away from it. So I would assume they're definitely going to talk about Jordan's dad. I don't know if they're going to get into the conspiracy theories. Maybe they will. Who knows?
Because they haven't brought up the baseball part at all. So,
but I mean, if you follow it, they're following a timeline and a narrative. Yeah. Obviously, they're following 98. Yeah, I love that they're bouncing between timelines. I think they're pulling it off for the most part pretty well. I did have some problems last week where I thought it was a little light on Jordan, where they focused too much on Dennis and Phil, specifically Dennis, because it's things that we already knew. Yeah. So that was my one critique of last week, but I like that they kind of got back on track this week, heavily focused on Jordan. And I like that they're bouncing between the timelines, like you said. So I think that, it ended with Jordan winning the first three-peat. So I'm sure they're going to, so I'm sure the next episode is going to focus on the retirement, going to focus on Jordan's dad, all of that. And that's going to be interesting, how they address that, how they do it.
Yeah. I can't wait for it, man. But I wasn't going to come on here and let you not talk about them Jets, man.
Oh man, come on, man. We don't even have to broach that subject, bro. Like, what do you want me to say about the Jets, man? What do you want me to say about the Jets?
Y'all let Robbie Anderson walk, right?
Yeah.
What was that about?
Hey man, we don't want to pay 11 million, however much she got to a guy. Look, I like Robbie. I think he's a solid receiver. But is Robbie a guy that you go out of your way to pay? Now, here's my thing. If you I still hold by this, that I think they should have taken a receiver in the first round. That's just me. I'm rooting for Mekhi Becton. I hope he turns out to be the player that I think a lot of people think he's going to be, or the potential to be. But I think that when you have an opportunity, when you got a young quarterback and you need weapons, and you have 2 stud receivers, 3 on the board at the time where you're picking, to me, I would have to go with the receiver. Just me. My personal opinion, because I feel like Judy and CeeDee Lamb are going to be better players at their position than Mekhi Becton is going to be at his position. I don't know that. I'm not an expert, but to me, if you let Robbie Anderson go, I thought that signified getting a receiver in the draft. They did end up getting a receiver in the second round, Denzel Mims, which fell to them. They got lucky, but we'll see, man. We'll see. Robbie Anderson, I'm a fan of Robbie, but he's replaceable.
Plus, he's never had a 1,000-yard season, so I don't really get the whole fanfare. Yeah, oh my God, let him go!
Yeah, Jet fans love him some Robbie Anderson. Look, and he's a good, solid player. He's a good kid, and I think it's because this is a kid that was an undrafted free agent. The story we developed him. Good story. We developed him, and he turned himself into a pretty good receiver. But he's a guy that you could replace. He's replaceable. So yeah, that's where I stand on Robbie Anderson, man.
Yeah, so as far as Mekhi Becton, I do think that's probably a good pick in the first round because
I mean, look, the kid has potential. I mean, it'd be stupid to tell you that the dude isn't he's a fucking freak athletically. So, I mean, look, it can be a good pick. I don't know. I mean, I hate grading draft picks. I hate when these dudes get on here. The Browns won the draft. Who the fuck knows? We don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? We won't. You can't grade a draft 3 to 5 years down the line. That's when you can grade a draft. I can't grade a draft right now. We don't know what these dudes are going to do. We don't know. We haven't hit a training camp. They haven't even done rookie camps yet. We don't know what these dudes are going to do. So to sit here and say the Browns won the draft, the Cowboys won the draft, who the fuck knows? For all we know, the Colts picked tomato cans and the Jets got diamonds in the rough, and vice versa. Who knows, man? Who knows? So, look, as a Jet fan, I'm rooting for the kid. I still feel like we should have got Judy or Lamb, but we got Becton. It was a need. It wasn't like they just reached and took anybody. It's not like they went out there and took a defensive lineman. I would have fucking flipped out if they took a defensive lineman.
After they just took a big boy from Alabama last year.
Right? Yeah. So I would have flipped on that. But look, it was a position of need. He was the best player on the board there. We could argue that. I personally thought the best tackle in the draft was Andrew Thomas. He went to the Giants. That was a solid pickup by them. Look, Mekhi Becton has some skills though, man. And I think I don't know if he's going to be a left tackle. I can see him more bouncing inside to be a guard. That's just me, but we'll see. We'll see, man. I'm rooting for him. I mean, you can never go wrong with trying to build up your offensive line.
Never.
I will say that. You never go wrong with putting some hog mollies down there. So
that tackle may give you extra 2 seconds to throw a touchdown for the Super Bowl. You never know.
Facts. So we'll see. If I had to grade it, I would give it a B. I flipped out on draft night, to be fair, because I was mad because I wanted them to pick a receiver. But
yeah, man, we all did, you know.
Now that I've had some time to step away, you know, and to collect my thoughts, it's a solid pick. We'll see.
My first reaction was, who the hell is Darnold throwing to?
And for all we know, you know what I'm saying? You know, CeeDee Lamb could step out there first day of minicamp and break his fucking leg and never be the same again. For all we know, Judy could be a bust. We don't know that.
Yeah.
Nobody. The draft is so up in the air, bro. Like, no, everybody that thinks they know is an expert. Nobody fucking knows.
Nobody knows. It's all sketchy.
Mel Kiper knows. Mel Kiper doesn't know. Like he has, you know. I'm not trying to devalue the guy, you know, because I enjoy him just as much as anybody else does. But he doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
You know, nobody knows. Nobody has this written down in stone that this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer. Nobody knows.
No.
So yeah, man. But look, I ain't even gonna talk to you about your Bears, man. How many tight ends y'all gonna have on the roster?
See, that's where you got me wrong. I'm not a Bears fan. I'm a Packers fan, bro.
Oh, you a Packers? How you a Packers fan? Guy, you know what? We ain't even got enough time to do that. We ain't got enough time to do that right now. I'm gonna let you live on that. That's for the next time you're on the podcast. That's for the next time.
Hey, man.
I'm gonna save that though. I'm gonna save that in the mental Rolodex because we're gonna get into Jordan Love, man. We're gonna get into Jordan Love.
Oh, my God.
We're gonna get into it. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna let you live. But brother, I ain't gonna do that to you right now. I'm gonna let you live. I'm gonna save that. Christian, man, this was a blast. This was a pleasure, man. I hope my kids weren't too much of a nuisance in the background, man.
Hey, man, daddy duties first.
I feel you. Hey, man, before you go, man, go ahead and plug your social media, plug According to Sources, anything you got coming up, man. Go ahead and sell yourself, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. So I am a member of the According to Sources team. My guys, Dre, Rob, Devin. My name is Christian. You can find us at Twitter on A2 Sources. You can find me on Twitter at 2_. My first name, Christian. There's no I at the end of Christian. Don't ask me. Ask my mom. I don't know why. But like we were talking at the beginning of the podcast, I do have a couple more poems coming out. Sports is kind of taking obviously a downturn. So there's not much to write about, but I do have some stuff in the works, and you'll be seeing that soon.
Awesome, man. Dope, man. Make sure you follow Christian on Twitter. Make sure you follow According to Sources and subscribe to their podcasts and to the blogs and everything like that, man. Like I said, I can't give those guys any more love than I've already given them, man. Those guys are dope. Shout out to all those guys, man. Those are my guys. Sir. Shout out to them. Go follow them. Go follow their work. Go follow them individually. Go follow them according. Y'all know what to do, man. Go follow them. As always, man, you can follow me on Twitter at @DManuel Brown, on Instagram at @DManuel Brown, Facebook Manuel Brown, Snapchat MannyBro15. Follow the show. Follow us on Twitter at AGS Pod, on Instagram AGS Podcast, Facebook Any Given Sunday. Yeah, man, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. As always, without you guys, there is no podcast. So appreciate it each and every week. You guys checking out, tuning into the podcast. Please be safe. Please be safe. Stay indoors if you don't have to be outside. Social distance, wear a mask, all that good stuff, man. Be safe, be blessed. For Christian Braswell, I am Manny Brown. This has been Any Given Sunday, the Tuesday edition. Happy Cinco de Mayo. May the 4th be with y'all. And we are out of here. Peace.